Now in 2025, we see that the economic situation in the European Union is not what it used to be. The COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine war in recent years have weakened the economies of countries in the European Union such as Germany, Italy, and Spain, and now they are looking for ways out of this critical situation. Today, I'm going to talk about a country that has quietly grown its economy in a short period of time. Poland, a country that has been on the brink of many disintegrations throughout history, and even completely wiped off the map in some parts of history. In a short period of 30 years, Poland has gone from being a country colonized by the Soviets, where basic needs were hard to find, living conditions were difficult, poverty was increasing, to being the 8th country in the European Union economically, where purchasing power has increased, the crisis has ended, and needs can be met. With a GDP of approximately 811 billion US dollars, Poland ranks 22nd globally and 6th in Europe behind Italy, Spain, and the Netherlands. Nominal GDP per capita is approximately 17,270 US dollars. So how did Poland grow so much in such a short time? Your help motivates me a lot while making these videos. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel before watching the video. Poland, which had literally turned into a war zone during the Second World War, was occupied by the Germans and was on the brink of the annihilation. The Soviet Union took Poland from Germany towards the end of the war and was initially welcomed with love by the people. However, things did not go at all as they had hoped. The Soviets continued to occupy Poland after the war, turning it into a full-fledged colony and using many things to their advantage. During these years, Poland adopted a socialist planned economy guided by the Soviets. State-controlled industrialization began, and large factories were built for the iron and steel, machinery, and chemical industries. On paper, there was economic growth, but this did not reflect reality. The system worked like this. Poland produced and sent it to Moscow. In return, the most basic needs for Poland were met. However, no matter how hard they worked, the Soviet economic crises of the 1970s and 1980s, the high level of foreign borrowing, and the inefficiency of the system created great difficulties in meeting these needs. In addition, attempts at collectivization in agriculture were both inefficient and unsuccessful due to resistance from farmers. The people, weary, bored, and unhappy with this situation, formed a major opposition to the regime with the emergence of the Solidarność movement in the 1980s. This process led to the end of the communist regime in 1989. In 1989, with the end of the communist regime, Poland made the radical decision to move from a planned economy to a free market economy. However, the Polish economy was not in good shape. Inflation had exceeded 600%, production was almost non-existent, and basic consumer goods were in short supply. Private sector was underdeveloped due to excessive state intervention in the economy. In those years, there was a great development in European countries. Stores offered everything people needed, and automated household appliances were widely used. Many people now own their own automobiles. In Poland, however, the situation was different. Such products were almost non-existent, available only to highly influential families. You had to wait in line for years to buy a car. At this point, the Polish government, led by Leszek Balcerowicz, initiated radical economic reforms. The Balcerowicz plan was designed to transition Poland to a free market economy and ensure stable growth. These reforms were implemented very quickly. According to official sources, unemployment under socialism was 0%. However, with the change policies, many people quickly lost their jobs, and the unemployment rate quickly skyrocketed to 15%. Likewise, under socialism, basic food products were subsidized by the state and controlled by a controlled price policy. However, with the removal of these subsidies, product prices began to skyrocket. These sudden changes triggered hyperinflation. Coal for heating homes went up by 600%, and electricity by 400%. The overall inflation rate climbed to 786%. However, after the initial effects of the economic shockwave were overcome, the market slowly began to stabilize. While this caused huge problems in the short term, in the long term it was crucial for Poland's future. After years of hardship, Poland was slowly recovering and people's well-being was improving. The economy was reviving and people were more hopeful about the future. So what reforms were included in the Balcerowicz plan? State price control was abolished and free market pricing was introduced. More than 6,000 state-owned factories and enterprises were privatized, while foreign investment was encouraged to develop the private sector. Imports and exports were facilitated by lowering customs duties, to opening the Polish economy to global markets. State subsidies to loss-making sectors were reduced, although this led to unemployment in some sectors. In the long run, it increased economic efficiency. A modern tax system was introduced. Private banks were allowed to set up, and the financial sector was liberalized. Of course, at first the unemployment rate jumped to 15%. Prices rose rapidly, but in the end, after 1993, the economy grew at an average annual rate of 4 to 5%. It became one of the most successful examples of economic growth in Eastern Europe, and reached the economic level required for accession to the European Union in 2004. Economically, Poland is classified as a high-income economy by the World Bank. When Poland joined the European Union on May 1st to 2004, it was one of the poorest countries in the Union. However, it was clear that this membership would bring great benefits in the long term. At first, Poland's traditional cultural structure was affected, and there were some difficulties in preserving local values. Nevertheless, EU membership opened up many new opportunities. Most importantly, it became part of a huge market of more than 500 million consumers. This meant that Poland could make its products available to a much wider audience. Funding from the European Union helped modernize the country in areas such as infrastructure, education, health, and technology. These projects were particularly effective in the areas of communication and transportation. One of the biggest advantages of joining the Union was the influx of foreign investors. Thanks to cheap labor and a safe investment climate, Poland's legal system was modernized as part of the process of harmonization with EU standards. Transparency, accountability, and competitive regulation have improved the business environment. All of these reforms have strengthened economic stability and enabled the implementation of long-term growth strategies. In a short period of time, Poland has surprised everyone by achieving steady growth rates and becoming one of the most dynamic economies in Europe. EU membership has accelerated the transfer of knowledge and skills, offering Polish citizens the opportunity to work and study and receive social security in other member states. This has improved the quality of the labor force and boosted the country's competitiveness. Moreover, thanks to international trade agreements and common policies, Poland has integrated into global supply chains and taken a more active role in the international arena. Everything had its upsides, but there were also some downsides. After joining the European Union, doctors, engineers, and skilled workers from Poland used their free movement rights to emigrate, especially to countries like the UK. There have also been challenges such as heavy bureaucracy, increased competition, regional imbalances, and cultural changes. Yet despite all this, Poland was the least affected EU country by the 2008 global economic crisis after joining the European Union. After 2020, major reforms were launched in areas such as the energy transition, digitalization, and the green economy. By 2023, GDP reached over $800 billion. Once colonized by the Soviet Union, Poland has achieved great economic success since joining the European Union, and it has done so in just 30 years. Poland continues to show the economic growth in 2025. But as in any country, there are problems. The main one could be demographic problems, as low birth rates and brain drain could lead to long-term labor market problems. The loss of skilled labor can weaken competitiveness. The growth of the economy has attracted a lot of investment, with more foreign investors turning to Poland. But in the future, companies may look elsewhere as people demand higher salaries. Such a situation is known in economics as the middle income trap. There are several reasons for its emergence. Poland has become competitive in the global market thanks to low labor costs, but rising income levels in Poland have started to have a negative impact. To avoid this, a shift to higher value-added production is needed. Initially, the economy relied on low-cost production and labor-intensive sectors for growth, but to sustain this growth, investment in innovation, R&D, and technology is essential. After reaching middle-income status, it is necessary to move to more complex and high-quality production processes to increase productivity. Disruptions in this transition can lead to stagnant growth. Transition to high-income economies should be supported by a skilled workforce and continuous education. Poland's investments in these areas are critical to avoid the middle-income trap. These are all problems that are slowly emerging in the Polish economy. If measures are not taken for the future, they can lead to really big problems. In addition, the Polish economy has grown over the years thanks to foreign investment, but the insufficient development of domestic companies can cause big problems in the future. The biggest reason for the growth of the Polish economy is the wise reforms. Add to that a bit of luck and it seems impossible to fail. Many countries have undertaken similar reforms after the collapse of the communist powers, but the most important ingredient for this plan to work is a sense of justice. In Poland, they paid a lot of attention to this. By ensuring justice, they have gradually implemented the plan, and as a result, according to projections, by 2030, Poland will be able to overtake Germany's economy. Of course, this is all a prediction, but it is not impossible. That's all for this video. If you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. See you.